Welcome to the Women's Football Show here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Kerry Pollock. Cheryl Smith, Cara Henderson and Alison McConnell are here with me. This weekend saw Rangers retain the Sky Sports Cup for the third year running in a 5-0 victory over Hibernian in front of a crowd of over 4,000 at Fir Park. Alison, Michaela McAloney had the ball in the back of the net for Hibs, but it was offside, unfortunately for her. From then on, it was just all Rangers.
Yeah, I think so. I think Kathleen McGovern had a good chance to get the opening goal just prior to Katy Wilkinson opening the scoring for Rangers just towards the end of the opening half, and I think that first goal was always going to set a tone in the game. I think it was so important. I think if Hibs were going to take anything, I think they had to score first, and I just felt as though when Rangers scored that you could sense the lack of conviction in Hibs. I felt as though there was a lack of belief about them, and then of course to come out after the break and lose 2 goals so quickly, I think it knocked the stuffing out of them. But I think that first goal at Fir Park on Saturday was always going to be key, and I think as soon as Rangers got it, they took a very firm grip of the game.
Cheryl, the first piece of silverware of the season goes to Rangers. They're in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. They're second in the league. Are all things pointing towards a treble for Rangers?
Well, you'd think that they would take the momentum from getting that victory and such an emphatic win as well, and a good performance against a team they hadn't beaten this season. I think we've gone into the game, Hibs were getting a lot of credit, rightly so, for being top of the table and how they'd performed, and I think it was just Rangers gave a wee reminder of they're still there and they've still got really good players. They were bringing international players off the bench. They've got a really strong squad. So you think going forward they would use that as a springboard. There's still a lot of football to be played. There's 9 games left, but I would think that they would take that and build on that momentum towards that possible treble. Yeah.
How important could this be for the league, Cara?
Yeah, I think it will be really important. I think that Rangers in some ways have gone quietly about the business. We've not really spoke about them much. Obviously we spoke about how many goals they were putting past people, but I think Joe made the point that they're the only team that are capable of doing the treble, and I think that, listen, they'll take a lot of confidence from yesterday, and obviously Hibs, that's a massive, it'll be a big blow to them because they'll have really fancied themselves heading into the game. So it'll be really interesting to see how both sides now react to it, because obviously from a Rangers point you just want to keep building and building and building. You don't want to get complacent, which I'm sure they won't. They don't have the opportunity to, I suppose, in this year's top 6 as well. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how it shakes down.
Definitely. Well, Rangers boss certainly believes Joe Potter's side have to keep their foot firmly pressed on the gas from now until the end of the season.
No, we've got to make sure that we're turning up like that week in, week out, because you've got to. We know we can't have any below par performances because everybody else is right at it. Everybody else has improved so much, and so have we, by the way. I think you look at the improvements that everybody's made over the season, over pre-season. Everybody's done it, so we've got to push even more, which is difficult when you're at the top.
From a Hibs perspective, Alison, did the occasion just get the better of them?
Possibly. I just think Rangers were on it. I think Rangers were absolutely on it, and as soon as he got that first goal, I think they just had superior quality all over the pitch. I think it wouldn't have flattered Rangers to have to have won the game by a bigger margin. I think they were very, very comfortable within the game. So I'm not sure if it was the occasion that got to Hibs or if they were just overran by a Rangers side who had the bit between their teeth. But I think the challenge now for Hibs is in how they reflect on this and how they react to it, because they have compounded all manner of expectations this season. They have punched above their weight. As Cheryl said, they're sitting at the top of the SWPL. They've got a 2-point cushion, and it was really notable on Saturday that as soon as the full-time whistle went and Rangers were celebrating, that Grant Scott took his team into a huddle on the pitch, and he spoke at length to them, and you could see him almost just reminding them, you have to wipe this now. It's gone. You have to remember why you were here, how you got here, why you're in the position you're in the league. You've not become a bad team on the back of one game. And I think it's really his job this week, and that of his coaching staff will be to ensure that there is not a dip in morale, that is not a result that negatively affects the psychology of that team and gets into their head really going into the run-in, because if they are to sustain the kind of form that they've shown across the campaign to date, they need to dismiss it. They need to dismiss it. They need to go away and look at what they've done wrong, and you need to analyse it, but you can't let it get in your head.
Yeah, I think they will bounce back from that, because they'll have to. at least in the league, where they're sitting. But that start of that second half, I can imagine how frustrated he must have been. That was so damaging, those 2 goals. I think if he had hair, he'd be pulling out because he's obviously gone in at half time. They're only 1-0 down. They're still in the game, and he's given whatever he said to them in the team talk and the plan, and it's out the window in 4 minutes. I just can't imagine how annoyed he must have been standing on that touchline. But like Alison says, they've got to move on from it now because they've got a huge end to the season coming, and it could still be really successful for them. So
I remember last year when we were in the final, so when we got back level, I think they scored a quick double just before half time and made it 3. I think Brian after, because I remember we did the post match and he came in and he said that he ended up just shutting up shop. But I think it ended 4, didn't it? He just ended up shutting up shop because it's so different. Even if we'd gone in at half time 2-1 in that cup final, it would have been like, do you know what? Anything can happen. You showed you can score. You show you can do it. But see that last goal or the third goal when it seems a wee bit outside, it knocks the complete sails out of you. And I remember we spoke at half time, and I just remember thinking, it was literally just before, I was like, if we had gone in half time 2-1, we all would have felt a lot better than we do right now. But you go in, he just feels so dejected. And I think the flip side of that is, as soon as they conceded the 2 goals and it goes to 3-0, it just, everything that you've planned just goes out the water completely.
Did you expect a closer contest though?
Yeah, I did. I think the fact that Hibs had drawn with Rangers earlier in the campaign, they beat them very comfortably back in December. I thought it would have been tighter than what it was. I think, but as I say, I think Rangers were up for it. I think if you look at each squad that are vying for the title just now, if you look at them all and their individual merits, I think there's a really strong argument to say that Rangers have the greatest depth and the best pool of players to choose from.
I think see that from who they were bringing on as subs.
You're introducing players off the bench who are, international players who are capable of coming on and making a difference, coming into the game and keeping it going. I mean, I think Rio Hardy, I'm sure, would have been quietly fuming not to have started that game, given, how the contribution that she's made to Rangers in the time that she's been there to come on, scored. I think when she scored, there was a kind of, a reminder of here's what I have to offer. But Katy Wilkinson, I think that's 39 goals this season for Katy Wilkinson across all competitions. You think these are quality players, and the difference between Saturday's game and previous meetings this term was that this was a Rangers team who were on it.
We're just sticking with Hibernian. Grant Scott's side take on Motherwell this weekend, and like you all said, there's no time to feel sorry for themselves.
The league matches are going to come thick and fast now. We've got a really tough opponent next week. So we absolutely have no time to wallow in this one. We'll certainly look back and take the learnings we can. But yeah, there's no time for overthinking it. We just need to prepare the team for next week now in a semi-quick turnaround.
2 points clear still, Cara, in the league. Will this result have an effect on them?
I don't know. I think that they'll do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't. But I definitely felt last year, and maybe we were less favourites than Hibs, obviously, where yes, on Saturday, that you're on such a high regardless. Like, it's the build up to it, it's the playing in such an amazing occasion, your family being there, it's just an extra special thing. So to have that high, it is very difficult. And I think last year it was hard. After that, we found, you could feel it in the squad that, because also then we're coming into playing Celtic, Glasgow City, Rangers, because we're in the top 6. So it is hard, but they're in such an amazing position in the league that, although it's hard to say this, they've got to, that's the pinnacle. It's what you play all season for. So they'll be putting everything in to make sure that they have that strong reaction. And I think as well, they've got players in the dressing room. They've got a nice blend of experience, and because even just somebody obviously that I know, Lindsay Taylor, she played in that final last year. She lost in the final with us. She now knows how that feels, and she now knows that she'll need to bounce back. And I think they've got a good blend of it, and I think they'll be so hungry to make sure that they don't let this affect what has been an excellent season so far.
As Grant Scott said there, Cheryl, the games are coming thick and fast. Mentioned Hibs take on Motherwell, Celtic face Glasgow City, and Rangers host Hearts at Ibrox this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not, Motherwell probably won't want to hear this, but that's actually a really good game for Hibs to bounce back in. And they'll be thinking that they can probably at least maintain that 2-point gap or go further ahead because of the other fixtures that are there. But they'll just be desperate, I think, just to get back out onto the pitch. It sounds a bit strange to say, but I actually thought the Hibs goalkeeper had quite a good game, even though it was 5-0, because it could have been a lot more, especially in the second half. But I think that's a good one for them to get back into and get back on track.
Do you expect to see much movement, Ali, in the coming weeks in that top half of the table?
I think it will move. I think it will shift a bit. This weekend is really intriguing. So you've got Friday night's game between Glasgow City and Celtic, and then you've got Rangers and Hearts on Sunday. Rangers and Hearts a draw the last time the teams met, and I think Hearts, like Hibs, are vastly improved again this season. I think you can see that they've really kicked on. Rangers, of course, I think will have the bit between their teeth. I think Joe Potter will be saying, here's a taste of what this season can be. You enjoyed Saturday, you enjoyed the reception back at Ibrox, you enjoy the profile of Barry Ferguson coming and seeing the game. You've got a live televised showcase game, but it's just really the tip of the iceberg of what this season could be, and I think you'll see them go in very, very positively to the game on Sunday at Ibrox against Hearts, determined to get themselves back up to the top of the table.
This is only giving them momentum, Cara, as we mentioned. The carrot's there for them to chase. Full throttle now for Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, as we said, it's just about taking the momentum of it. The confidence will be a big thing, and days like that are so special. And I think you rightly said that if you want that, you could have that potentially 2 more times this season, and that's just got to be an incentive. They've got Hampden coming up as well, and then they're in a position in the league where, because of the top 6, they've got to play everybody around about them, and they'll be looking for dominance. I mean, the best results for Hibs would probably be that they win and everybody else draws with each other and sort of plateaus. But yeah, no, it's shaking up to be a really interesting title race, because I don't think it's as simple as momentum. I think that it's you've got to just really concentrate on every game, and I actually think that even Hibs, I think if I was Motherwell, I'd be saying, listen, you've got to catch them, hopefully when they're low on confidence, hurting a wee bit from the result of the weekend, and that's definitely how I think they'll try look at the game, although I do think Hibs have got a lot of quality.
I do think Friday night's game is hugely intriguing, because I think if you're being realistic, you can only bracket it as a must-win game for Celtic. I think if they are to have any ambitions at all of retaining that title, they need to beat Glasgow City on Friday night, and they've toiled in games against the teams round about them this season. They beat Glasgow City at the very start of the season, but they've not beaten Rangers in 5 attempts. I think this is the kind of game where Celtic need to step up. Like if we hear Elena saying that she still retains a confidence in this team to go and deliver the title, and that there's still a belief within that squad, this is when you have to go and show that. I think they need a performance now that backs that up.
I think Celtic are out of it. I think they've been out of it for weeks. As they have, like you say, they haven't won. Have they won a big game yet this season?
In Glasgow City at the start of the season, yeah.
When it mattered, they've not turned up. I don't think they're they don't look like a particularly cohesive team on the pitch. We're almost towards the end of the season, and I'm still trying to figure out what their style of play is. You can see it from the other teams, like how they play. I don't think that they are. They might beat Hearts, but I just don't think that they've got any title ambitions left, in my opinion.
Do you feel that they could catch the top 3? You think they can?
I wouldn't count any of them out right now. I do agree that the head-to-heads are so important, but they've managed to just keep in touch and distance, and I think because it's so competitive, because there's 9 games left, they've not really got any other distractions. I don't know. I think it'll be tough. I think obviously they've got a lot of ground to make up, but not really that much ground in the grand scheme of things as well, because realistically draws will ruin title races as well. Like you need to win games.
Yeah, I don't think a draw's any good for Celtic on Friday night. I think if they are to come back and make a fist of it, they need to win on Friday night.
Do you think that they can bridge the gap?
I think it's still possible. I do. Possible is different from being plausible. I think theoretically yes, and I think Friday night could be pivotal in that. However, I don't know. I think they've been unconvincing this season. That's what you would have to say. So I think the evidence suggests no.
No. 2 no's and 1 yes. Well, it is tight in that top 6. All but one team are full-time, albeit not exclusive. Alison caught up with Judy Murray at the final at the weekend, and here's what she had to say about the women's game.
I think probably more investment, more funding to bring to allow women to play full-time, that it can be a career, that they can play full-time. I think there's still too many women who have to treat it as something part-time, and if you want to get to the top in anything, it has to be full focus. So that's all about investment. But this, the level that some of the teams are playing at now within Scotland on the women's side is only pushing everything in the right direction.
It's the obvious one, Cara, isn't it? More funding into the game, bridge the gap, make it more competitive.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously it helps when you've got amazing women like her speaking about it. I think that it is definitely, and I think you've got to give credit and say that it is on the rise. I think that little things like, the numbers that are there, I think the coverage of the game is a lot better than even just a couple of years ago. So it is, though, it's the way forward, and I think that it's not even just the surface level. I think that grassroots and that all the wee girls playing below would really, benefit from funding as well. So it's the full picture, I think. But I definitely would say that I think it's on the rise, but we want it to keep going and we want it to keep progressing as well.
You're absolutely right. Well, on behalf of myself, Cheryl, Cara and Alison, another exciting weekend of football coming up. We'll be back next Monday to discuss it all. Thanks for watching.